Welcome to episode 10 of Shane Talks. That's right, we've done 10 episodes now, and this episode is our top 10 list. We're also sponsored this week by Founders Brewing. Actually, not at all. This is actually a beer that my friend Garrett gave me. It's called Mas Agave. It is a lime goza, which is then aged in tequila barrels. It's absolutely delicious, and it's what I'm going to be drinking during the show tonight. As usual, I've got my regular co-host with me, which is Jason L. Mayer. Jason, you drinking on anything good tonight?
My typical Samuel Adams Summer Ale, with frozen grapes dropped right on it.
Frozen grapes. All right. So, about a week ago, I put up on the Facebook page for Shane Talks asking people to submit their top 10 favorite films of all time. Now, a lot of people thought I was asking them to literally number 1 through 10 what their favorite films in order are. So 90% of the people who responded said, these are in no particular order. And we had other people who thought they'd be funny and just be like, I can't name only 10 movies. So it is what it is. But the people who did respond, we had 28 of them who gave us their in no particular order lists. We're going to go through those. We're going to kind of try to break them down, see what vibes we get from everybody's lists. And then kind of compare them to see if anybody has some of the same movies that are on Jason and I's lists. So we are going to start off with my buddy Jiv is up first. His 10 movies are Bad Boys, The Departed, Cruel Intentions, Boondock Saints, Blow, The Godfather, Shawshank Redemption, Iron Man, The Dark Knight, and Goodfellas. Anything stick out on that list for you, Jason?
Bad Boys for the most part.
Sure. I'm surprised to see Blow on there. I love the movie Blow, but it's not one that I ever would think that belongs on a top 10 list.
Yeah, Blow is a tough. I remember watching it and somewhat enjoying it, but it's nothing that I don't think I've ever revisited it since the first time I saw it. It was good. I liked it. Nothing wrong with it. Entertaining while I watched it, but nothing that made me go, I want to come back for this.
Sure. So pretty decent list. I like all of the movies on his list. There's nothing I look at and think's crazy. So go ahead.
Bad Boys, while I love the action genre.
Oh yeah.
And it's my favorite Michael Bay movie of all time. Followed very closely by The Rock, which is another fantastic action movie.
Followed very closely by Armageddon.
Move on. For some. I like Armageddon a lot. I love it. I can watch it anytime it's on TV. But I feel like they're very similar. His style definitely is the same between those three movies.
Sure.
But I think it's the whole like the buddy cop kind of thing, or it's better. I like the dynamics better when he's doing the buddies compared to like the father son daughter weird triangle thing going on there. So
cool. We're gonna jump over next to my buddy Steve. Steve's order in no order as he states: The Godfather Part 1, then The Godfather Part 2. Shawshank is also on his list. Inception is on his list. The Dark Knight and Iron Man are both on both of those lists. Then we've got the Bond film Goldfinger. Goodfellas is back for 2 for 2 already. Troy and The Avengers. So on this list, I'm excited to see Inception because Inception is on my list also. Anything on this list match up with you?
Troy is the weird one for me on this one, actually. I really like it. I own it. I don't think I've watched it since I saw it in the theater.
Sure.
Really good movie, really good battle sequences. But yeah, overall, like that one's cool. The Dark Knight, I don't think there was anything on that list that matches with my list, but like The Dark Knight is definitely praiseworthy for that.
I would believe The Avengers is on your list, good sir.
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot you said that I forgot Steve's list. Sorry.
No, you're good.
I don't easily have those accessible to me right now. So
cool. Next up, we got my friend Katie Ward. Her list goes V for Vendetta, The Sandlot, Goonies, Dinner for Schmucks, A League of Their Own, Steel Magnolias, Apollo 13, Terminator 2, There Will Be Blood, and Train to Busan.
Never heard of Train to Busan.
Okay, it's a horror film. It's pretty bizarre.
Gotcha. This girl really likes her baseball movies. So
yeah. Baseball
can't complain there. Awesome choices.
It's really kind of all over the board.
Sandlot I watched just this last Friday outside for our movie night.
Nice.
So fantastic film. Love that one. League of Their Own is easily one of my probably like it's in my top 5 for comedies. I don't know if it's in the top 3 or not. But yeah, like that movie is Tom Hanks in that movie is like comedy gold, man. Like from beginning to end of that, no matter if he was drunk or if he was sober, like he is perfect in that role. And yeah,
she did a good job of spacing stuff out. You got Goonies and Sandlot for a kids genre. You got V for Vendetta and Terminator 2 for an action genre. You got League of Their Own and Steel Magnolias for like a female genre. Like the one that's on here that I just don't get and like really don't understand is Dinner for Schmucks, because that is literally a movie I watched and absolutely hated.
Dude, there's some really funny moments in that. I've only seen it since I only saw it the one time in the theater.
Do you mean the really funny moments that were also in the trailer?
Well, yeah, they were in the trailer a little bit, but there was some. There's some really good stuff in there, man. Like Paul Rudd and Steve Carell together in that one was really quite funny.
Man, I just did not.
Is it mice or squirrels? Dead mice or dead squirrels?
Squirrels, I think, if I remember right. But I only saw it once because I.
Oh, dude! I mean, nowhere near any top 10 list for me. But I mean, to each their own, right?
Sure. Next up, we got my friend Heather. Her no particular order are The Hunt for Red October, Princess Bride, When Harry Met Sally, Shawshank again is on the list, Lion King, Best in Show, Hoosiers, White Knights, Fried Green Tomatoes, and The American President.
Oh, American President, fantastic movie. Was that Mamet or no? Sorkin. It's Sorkin.
There you go.
Really enjoy The American President. Another one I wouldn't put in my top 10 ever, but it's a lot of fun to watch and cool to watch when you watch it.
It's a really good movie.
So,
I forgot to look this up. I'm pretty sure White Knights is the spy film.
The White Knights?
White Knights? Like, I meant to look it up and I completely forgot to. I am not familiar with that, but I think it's a spy movie. I'm thinking of White Sands. I think I'm thinking of White Sands. Anyway, I am not familiar with White Knights. I love The Hunt for Red October. I'm really happy to see that on her list. It's my favorite Jack Ryan movie. I just wish that Harrison Ford had done that one, because I like Harrison Ford better than Alec Baldwin.
Will 100% agree with you on that.
Yeah.
Although Alec Baldwin was probably the proper age for Jack Ryan's character when that's supposed to be happening. And that's one of the first movies I remember seeing. I was on spring break the year that it came out, and I saw that and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So, my baby. But the Hunt for Red October is a fantastic movie. Sean Connery, we should have done a Sean Connery list in your top 10. How many movies are him that are getting mentioned here? So
the plot for White Knights involves a Soviet ballet dancer who is defecting from the Soviet Union. He's on a plane to Tokyo that has electrical problems and it crashes in Siberia. He is then recognized by a KGB officer. Not a movie I have ever seen. Gregory Hines and Mikhail Baryshnikov.
Wow.
Isabella Rossellini.
Actual dancers in there.
Yeah. Helen Mirren and Isabella Rossellini are also in it. Something I am not familiar with, though. All right, moving to the next list. My friend Jill. Her in no particular order, but she will never turn these movies off if they are on TV. Goodfellas again, so that's going strong in the votes category. Tarantino's Pulp Fiction, Shaun of the Dead, Back to the Future finally gets a vote. That is definitely on my top 10 list. Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, which is my favorite of the Indiana Jones movies. Clueless, House Guest, Bram Stoker's Dracula, The Burbs, and she combined Kill Bill 1 and 2, and I let that slide because they're supposed to be one movie.
Gotcha. The Burbs, okay, whatever. House Guest.
House Guest is hilarious.
Dude, that's definitely one of those movies. Like that's a feel good, silly movie, man.
It definitely is.
Ron Glass is in it.
Yep.
And like Phil Hartman, Sinbad. It's just so silly. And
Sinbad did all of those like really like mid 90s fun movies like First Kid or whatever.
Oh, where is this?
Where he was a security guard. Yeah, like he did a lot of those movies around that time that were just fun. Like not great, but fun.
It's literally like The Rock's career 20 years earlier.
Yes, for sure.
At least the start of The Rock's career. I won't say so much now, but
sure.
When he was doing Tooth Fairy and Game Plan, it was totally on that same trajectory. He just needed better representation, apparently, so he could have been the number one box office draw.
Garrett, who provided me with the Masagave tonight, which is absolutely delicious. His list starts with Ghostbusters, the 1984 version. Okay. He has some not nice things to say about the 2016 version. Next up is Boondock Saints, Labyrinth, Willow, The First Lethal Weapon, Lord of the Rings, the original Red Dawn, the original Halloween, Pirates of the Caribbean, which I assume he means the first one since it's the only one that's any good, and then Bad Boys got thrown on here also.
Dude, like, I like Garrett a lot. Did he just literally pick every single movie that he liked when he was 7 years old and it was like, I'm not changing my top 10? Like,
and I don't blame him for that. It's a great list. A lot of
and he like peppers in like 3 or 4 people, yep. 3 or 4 other movies. Just listening to that list is nostalgia for my 7 to 10-year-old self watching HBO and network rerunnings of movies. So
you got great fantasy movies on there, great action movies on there. When he says Lord of the Rings, I'm going to pretend that he means Fellowship of the Ring, because much like Pirates of the Caribbean, that's really the only one I like.
I don't understand you, but it's okay.
I love them when they're the Fellowship. The next 2 movies when everybody breaks up and goes their own way, like I'm over it. Like
metaphor that Shane does not like.
All right, so moving on. Chris Meek, a good friend of both of ours, his list has Casablanca, went very classic with his
on my list.
Pulp Fiction, The Blues Brothers, Chasing Amy is on Chris's list. It's also in my top 10 list. Goodfellas makes another list. The Princess Bride, Scream, which is a funny side note. Scream is the only movie that is on both you and I's top 10 lists. Dude, it's the only movie we share. Jailhouse Rock, Tommy Boy, and Singing in the Rain. Lots of classics on his list.
So Tommy Boy, absolutely love that movie.
Oh yeah,
so great. Interesting side note with the tragedy that happened with Chris Farley. I remember I was taking a nap. And then news apparently of him passing away hit news outlets or whatever.
Sure.
And I was taking this nap and all of a sudden my phone rang and and it was a text message from Chris Meek. And it was like, Chris Farley's dead. And at this point in time, Chris and I were like talking, but like, what year was that? Was that 2000?
That sounds about right. We were out of high school because I was pretty much in my big Chris Farley phase around then. So 99, 2000, somewhere in there.
So we were out of high school. So like Chris and I stayed in touch a little bit, but he was definitely I think he was still in high school. And but so I was one of those moments where I was like, wow, like Chris Meek thought of me to hit me up with this. That was kind of interesting. So sad day for everybody when Chris Farley passed away.
Oh, definitely wrong. December 18th of 1997. We were still in high school.
Dang.
December of 97. I don't even remember you.
He must have called me then. He must have called me while we were still in woke me up from this nap, and I picked up the phone and he was like, Chris Farley's dead, man. And I was like, okay, that sucks. That really sucks. So I don't know if maybe because I looked like him when I was in high school, they just wanted to make sure that he reached out and got to me first.
That could be it. But I really appreciate this is the first list that really does have a lot of classics like Casablanca, Singing in the Rain, Jailhouse Rock, and then I mean even going to the Blues Brothers being an early 80s movie. Like I think Absolutely. Chris has a really good, well-rounded list because then he's got action with Pulp Fiction and Goodfellas. He's got some romance with Princess Bride. He has the greatest horror film ever made in Scream. Like, and then he's got the greatest love story ever with Chasing Amy. He's got Chasing Amy on here. Like I love Chris's list. I think it's a really good one.
No, it's a solid list. I like the if you know anything about Chris, he's definitely kind of an old soul, and so he's really into Elvis, or was when we were in high school anyway, and but he loved Elvis, and he's really into some of the older style of things. And so it does not surprise me at all that there's some real classic movies that are on his compared to, the rest of us who are
moving on to my friend Brandy. Her list goes Dead Poets Society, The Changeling with George C. Scott, which I've never seen. Sweet November. I assume that's the Keanu Reeves movie that is odd to be on a top 10 list. Lady Bird I have not seen. 20th Century Women I have not seen. I have seen The Goonies. She just says Harry Potter, so I'm wondering if she's trying to squeeze all 8 of them into one vote. I'm not sure. Contact, the Jodie Foster film. That's interesting. Titanic. The Craft, which is a movie I love. And then she says her favorite shock value movie to show other people is Gumo, which I've only seen once in my life. And the only reason I saw it was because I was a huge Kids fan back in the Castleton Arts days, and it was the guy who directed Kids. It was his very first film.
Gotcha.
And it's bizarre. I don't
is
really.
Kids the documentary?
The pseudo documentary, the one that launched Rosario Dawson's career. Like, it's not really a documentary, but a lot of it had a general plot, but no real script, and the kids all improvised their stuff.
Yep.
But it was supposed to be like real life New York City at that time.
Gotcha. Yeah, yeah.
But anyway, this is probably the list that I least associate with because there's not a lot of stuff on it. I mean, I love The Craft. I love Dead Poets Society.
But, I mean, like,
I love Goonies.
If everybody else is AMC, this is Castleton Arts.
There you go. It's definitely a lot of artsy kind of stuff.
Or Keystone Art, if you want to go
Keystone
that route.
Arts, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like it's definitely the art house compared to everybody else who's going kind of mainstream. Absolutely nothing wrong with that, obviously, but
to each their own. And that's literally the whole point of doing this. Is I just wanted to a lot of these questions that I pose and ask people are for a psychological, like, I'm trying to get to know my friends better and trying to see what they enjoy when they watch movies. So finding out these movies and movies that I'm not very familiar with makes me kind of think, to get to know Brandy better, I should probably start looking into some of these movies that she likes, because I'm not very familiar with them.
Or if we're ever open again, you can invite her to go see some movies at Keystone.
There you go. Moving on to Mike Obarski's list. Goodfellas is there again. That seems to be a pretty common movie on these lists. The 87 RoboCop, the 89 Batman, Pulp Fiction, No Country for Old Men, Big Lebowski, once again, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, which I find funny because both him and his wife have now voted for the same Indiana Jones movie, Midnight Run, Fight Club, which is phenomenal, and I'm actually kind of upset it's not in my top 10. it was in my top 15. It got whittled out, but yeah, like Fight Club is phenomenal. Star Wars: A New Hope, and then he put Mono's Hands of Fate on his list. I have a feeling that he put that on there just to try to be funny, because it's supposed to be the worst film ever made. It's referenced in How I Met Your Mother as the worst film ever made. I have not seen the entire thing. I have watched clips of it on YouTube, and it does not look to be anything I would ever want to actually watch.
Star Wars: A New Hope is on my list as well.
It is, yep.
So yeah, he's definitely he's got the mid '80s Garrett thing going.
Yes, he does. RoboCop and Batman.
Dude, and I saw RoboCop's so good, such a good movie, and its commentary, considering especially what's going on in the country right now. It's literally like almost verbatim with what's going on. It's kind of weird and scary how, like, the Simpsons can predict the future.
Sure.
And apparently RoboCop can too. So
all right, we are going to move on to Jason Richardson, a good friend of both of ours. His list, no surprise, tops with Halloween, The Shawshank Redemption, All the President's Men, Rear Window, Aliens, Porky's, Field of Dreams, You've Got Mail, A Beautiful Mind, and Die Hard. So Field of Dreams is in my top 10 list.
He's got two of mine. He's got Aliens and Die Hard on his. So
now he didn't specify the director's cut, but we'll let you guys just kind of coexist side by side.
That works. That works. I've never seen All the President's Men. So.
It's fine. It's Robert Redford being Robert Redford in the 70s, working for a newspaper. So it's not a bad movie, but I think because I wasn't a product of living through it, I can't appreciate it as much.
Absolutely. So interesting that it's only it's not even a 10-year difference between us and Jaybird, and
sure.
And it's the fact that then you think about us and people that we know that are 10 years younger than us, and we're like, oh man, you don't know this. And it's product again.
The fact that there's now kids in college who weren't even born when September 11th happened is just baffling. I was already drinking in bars when September 11th happened, and there's now kids who were born after that. It's just that's how the world works. All right, our friend Albert Avalos from California has a no order associated with his list: The Bourne Identity, John Wick 2, Hot Fuzz, Men in Tights. He tried to just say Star Wars, but then he gave me A New Hope. Jurassic Park, which is on my list. Super Troopers, Kill Bill, The Avengers, and Clue.
Avengers and Star Wars on my list, but you can definitely tell Albert likes to laugh.
Yeah, yep.
Enjoy himself. So Clue, another classic film.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if I put it in top 10, but it's definitely awesome. Just watched that again. Just watched it with the family recently.
Nice.
But yeah, that's a really solid list from him too.
Yeah, it's a especially for anybody who enjoys comedy and action. There's a lot of both of those on his list.
I don't agree with John Wick 2, and what was the first one?
Bourne Identity. Yeah,
Bourne Identity. I remember Bourne Identity being really cool when it came out.
Yeah,
but it feels like it definitely. Maybe it's because other movies followed their lead and did it better that I discount it.
My only question would be, I would take Bourne Identity and John Wick 2 and just sum them up with John Wick. I think the first one is far superior to the second one.
I totally agree.
You could just chuck both of those movies, put the first John Wick in there, and find something else for your 10th movie.
Yeah, that first John Wick outdoes both.
Way outdoes both the sequels. All right, Ryan Foster is up next. You and I both go back 20 plus years with Ryan. He has Saving Private Ryan, The Shawshank Redemption, Big Trouble in Little China.
Good choice.
Seven Samurai, Princess Mononoke, Labyrinth, The Big Lebowski, The Matrix, Aliens, and he went with Empire Strikes Back for his Star Wars choice.
Well, I mean, and you can't fault a guy for going with the best made Star Wars movie,
Agree.
even though it might not be the best one for me personally. But yeah, like Aliens is on my list.
Yep.
And then but yeah, like Ryan's choices pretty cool, pretty solid.
Very diverse.
Yeah. Princess Mononoke is probably, it's definitely my favorite anime movie of all time.
Yes, anime, I will give you that, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, style wise and a cohesive story that that I really enjoy. It's definitely by far, compared to everything else I've watched anime, which isn't a whole lot. I've seen like 4 or 5.
Yeah.
But all of them were just kind of blah to me, except for Princess Mononoke. Shout out to Castleton Arts, where I saw that for the first time. And I have the movie poster for that.
Oh, nice. Yeah, so pretty solid list overall. Next up is my buddy David Sibley from my Carasotas days. Dave's list is also another Castleton Arts, Keystone Arts list. So let's go through Seven Samurai, It's a Wonderful Life, Marty, a movie called The Browning Version, which I am not familiar with.
No clue.
To Kill a Mockingbird. The Iron Giant makes me so happy to see on his list. It was on my top 15 and got cut out, but it's my favorite animated film of all time. I'm so glad to see it's on Dave's list. In the Mood for Love is another movie I've never heard of. Before Sunset, Halloween, and RoboCop.
Halloween and RoboCop, I mean, we've heard those a lot tonight so far. Well, not a lot, but at least twice, if not more. Both of those solid classic movies that, you know, stand the test of time.
Oh yeah.
Seven Samurai, that's the Kurosawa one, right? Yep. Okay.
Been remade 20 different times as a bunch of different
So yeah, I would definitely say that this could be like a Castleton Arts like retrospective list. Very easy.
Next up is my friend Steve Brown's wife, Amanda. I'm just going to throw some shade towards Steve because Steve did not put up his top 10 list, and I was very disappointed in him. But his wife did, so we're going to go through her list. It starts with Grease, Beetlejuice, Bad Boys. There's Bad Boys again. Christmas Vacation, which I love the fact that that's on somebody's list. Overboard, Goodfellas, American Gangster, Dirty Dancing, Forrest Gump, and The Wizard of Oz.
So she definitely got some musicals in there. Mm-hmm. Grease, Wizard of Oz, and what was the other one?
Dirty Dancing.
Dirty Dancing essentially is a musical.
Yeah.
But yeah, all just looking at those 3 movies, fantastic. Like all of those are good films.
I'm surprised this is the first time I've seen Forrest Gump on anybody's list. Like, I remember Forrest Gump being hugely popular when I was younger.
And it was, but I think it was, I mean, that's one of those movies that has such a soundtrack that is so timeless.
Okay.
And that you could, just the soundtrack alone is worth that movie. But you know, overall, I don't think it holds up over as well as things could have. It's a solid movie. I'll watch it if it's on. But you know, a lot of it is that whole how he fits into real history, and I don't know if that holds up well.
Okay, I can buy that. All right, moving on to John Petty's list, not the John Petty we know from the theater business. My buddy John Petty I knew at Ball State. His list has The Princess Bride, Pool Hall Junkies, High Fidelity, Love Actually, Inglourious Bastards, Clerks, Back to the Future, Good Will Hunting, Rounders, and Hot Fuzz.
He's got a hard-on for Matt Damon. But
besides which I have nothing against, because Good Will Hunting and Rounders at one point were on my list also. This is a list. This is a list that 10 years ago could have been almost my list.
That was your list 10 years ago. He never updated it.
Yeah. Pool Hall Junkies is one of those movies that it fell out of my top 10, but it's still literally one of my favorite films of all time. I'm honestly, I don't know how it did. It didn't end up on my top 10 list because it doesn't hold the same nostalgic place that my top 10 list does, but it's still like Pool Hall Junkies is one of the best films I've ever seen.
Well, yeah, but you also got to look at it from a different perspective too, right? Like, so your top 10 list right now is different than your top 10 list from even a year ago.
Sure.
And it is this ever revolving list, and it's this ever changing list depending on your mood, who you're hanging out with, what you're into at the moment, those kind of things.
Sure.
When you asked me to make my list, I went for some that were like specific genre wise, but then I also was trying to, think of other things that I absolutely love and had to have on that list. So
for sure. And like that's why Iron Giant was originally in my top 10, because I was like, I have to have an animated movie on there. But then when I looked at 11 through 15, I was like, there are movies down here that I actually like more than the Iron Giant overall. So that was rough. Clerks, in the comments, John and I started going down a rabbit hole because he couldn't believe that Clerks wasn't in my top 10 list. And I had to explain to him that, like, as much as I love Clerks, it's not my favorite Kevin Smith movie.
Oh.
So it couldn't be in my top 10 over Chasing Amy.
Yeah.
So, and then obviously Back to the Future has been in my top 10 list since I was 9 years old, and it will never not be on my top 10 list. Chris Ward, his list goes Saving Private Ryan, The Blues Brothers, Casablanca, The 89 Batman, Wrath of Khan, The Dark Knight, Willy Wonka, your favorite Goodfellas is on another list, The Godfather Part 2, and Lord of the Rings Return of the King. My first thing I gotta say is, obviously a big fan of comic book movies with Batman 89, Star Trek, Dark Knight, and Return of the King all being on here.
I don't know how Star Trek or Return of the King gets them on a
comic book sci-fi. Like, that's kind of what I was going for, like lumping them together, like fantasy, if you will.
All right. I don't understand people's fascination with Goodfellas. I don't understand people's fascination with the Godfather series. But to each their own, and that's a really cool list. It's definitely a watchable list for sure. So,
my buddy Brian, ex-bartender friend of mine, he went with Empire Strikes Back, The Jerk, Weird Science, Thor Ragnarok, True Romance, Tombstone, a completely out of left field Kevin Smith pick with Dogma, Pulp Fiction, Galaxy Quest, and Die Hard.
Die Hard and Tombstone are on my list, but Dogma, kind of like what we were talking about with everybody's list, right? Like, how did it resonate with you when you watched it for the first time? Where were you when that happened?
Well, and there's definitely some quirky comedies on here along with Dogma, The Jerk, Weird Science, and Ragnarok. Like,
oh, dude, but like Ragnarok's not even my favorite Thor movie, so I don't understand that being on anybody's top 10 list personally. But yeah, Weird Science, so fantastic.
Yeah. And Galaxy Quest, like, this is the first list I think that I've said Galaxy Quest, and that movie is amazing on multiple levels of fun, of enjoyment, of well made, well parodying Star Trek. Like, it's so good. I absolutely love Galaxy Quest and love the fact that it's on somebody's top 10 list. All right, moving on to our friend Snow, who also had to say, in no real order, don't judge. Started with The Matrix, Pulp Fiction, The Last Samurai, like Tom Cruise's The Last Samurai, like The Avengers, Hudson Hawk, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, another vote for Dogma, Batman Begins and The Dark Knight, and The Incredibles.
So you got to give it to him for The Incredibles.
Yeah.
one of the best animated movies of all time.
Lots of fun.
And then I will, Snow is a Batman comic book fan.
For sure.
So he definitely
doubled up on The Dark Knight and Batman Begins.
Yeah.
I love seeing Kiss Kiss Bang Bang on there. I don't know if it's my favorite Shane Black film, but...
Oh, it's definitely not. Dude, like, Lethal Weapon is so far superior to that movie.
And I'm a big Last Boy Scout fan, too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. At least, like, those movies, both of those are way better than...
But, I mean, Val Kilmer and Robert Downey Jr. are really good in Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. Like,
I need to watch that movie again.
So. You should. It's a lot of fun. All right, let's move on to our friend Jay. His list is pretty dope. Starts with The Crow, and then The Last Starfighter.
Both fantastic.
Disney's Robin Hood, and then Lilo and Stitch.
Nope.
Spy Game. Big Trouble in Little China. Things to Do in Denver When You're Dead. The Commitments. Man on Fire, and Black Hawk Down.
I will say that Things to Do in Denver When You're Dead. I was young when it came out. Maybe I need to rewatch it. Didn't care for it when I saw it. But his last two were what?
Man on Fire and Black Hawk Down.
Dude, Man on Fire is one of the best acting movies for Denzel Washington, in my opinion. He's fantastic in that movie, and it's such a great nod to like fatherly love,
sure,
for the most part. And Jay and I pointed that out, Jay pointed that out when we were talking about that movie.
Yep.
What was the last one?
Black Hawk Down.
Black Hawk Down. Holy Snikes! Like, as far as a war film goes, I don't know if you can get any more realistic than what they did with that film.
Sure. It was very well done.
And Ridley Scott put you in the middle of that action, and it's so exhausting while you're watching it.
Sure.
Yeah, easily can see why it's in somebody's top 10 list.
I'm sure this will not surprise you or anyone who knows me really well, but the fact that Spy Game is told non-linear makes it very enjoyable for me. I really like Spy Game a lot. I feel like it is one of the only Hollywood films to ever do like spy stuff like legit and the right way, and like very covert, very undercover, what a Mission Impossible movie should be, in all honesty. So I'm happy to see Spy Game on there. I wasn't expecting that. And then Things to Do in Denver When You're Dead, I only got into because when working at Clearwater, it was one of Devin Klaus's favorite movies, and he lent me his DVD to watch it. And I don't know if he just hyped it up and I was impressionable enough to believe his hype, but I remember really enjoying the movie, and I remember buying the DVD and watching it a lot at that point in time. But literally sitting here right now, I couldn't even tell you what the movie was about other than Andy Garcia.
I remember the chick in it is she's from Three Musketeers.
Sure. Julia Anwar or something, or Gabrielle Anwar.
Gabrielle Anwar.
Yeah, cool.
That's right.
All right, moving on to the next list. My friend Brian Lerman, his list goes Ghostbusters, The Dark Knight, Casino, True Romance, The Hangover, The Matrix, Captain America Civil War, Cool Hand Luke, Top Gun, and a third vote for Indiana Jones and The Last Crusade. Of all Indiana Jones votes, The Last Crusade is the only one that has shown up on anybody's list.
I wonder if that's because all of you decided, we're going to make this the Indiana Jones movie, or if it's just because of the fact that, you are all around the same age. So, Raiders of the Lost Ark had already taken the spotlight, and you were like, but this one's got Sean Connery in it.
There you go. It also had River Phoenix in it, man. That movie is the best of all three of them. I'm so glad to see it.
There's 4 movies, Shane.
There are 3 Indiana Jones movies. And then there's an Indiana Jones fan film that was very bad.
Yeah.
Uh,
Man.
I'm happy to see Top Gun on there. I really love Top Gun. True Romance, Tarantino's first script he ever sold. Like, that's awesome. Yeah, that's a good list. I would watch any of those. Yeah, I'd watch any of those movies.
Yeah, they're the good choices.
Yep. Next up, Tim Pendleton's list starts with E.T., Raiders of the Lost Ark. He listed all 3 Star Wars movies, so I gave him credit for A New Hope. Witness for the Prosecution, Rear Window, The Blues Brothers, Better Off Dead, Blazing Saddles, Anti-Mame, which is a movie I'm not familiar with, and Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Close Encounters is so slow, man. Like,
yeah.
When we watched that re-release, like, it's a beautiful movie to watch. It's shot really well, but like, man, like, and the music's phenomenal, but man, can that movie get boring at certain points. You can tell Better Off Dead, like, that's, it's not the first time John Cusack's been pulled up tonight, but it's the first time that movie's been pulled up tonight. Dude, that movie is just so stupid and silly. Like, that's definitely, you could see why somebody, especially like if it ever made an impression on him, why it could easily be in somebody's top 10. So,
if I'm not mistaken, Close Encounters, E.T., Raiders, and Star Wars are all John Williams.
Yeah.
So 4 out of his 10 are all John Williams scored films. I wonder if John Williams is more important to him than the actual movies.
Oh, that's a good point.
Blues Brothers is a great choice. It is also a very musically driven movie that's very good. I'm happy to see Rear Window on there. Possibly my favorite Hitchcock movie. No.
I was going to say, you are a huge Hitchcock fan.
Yeah, I still think Vertigo is probably my favorite. Rear Window's in my top 3 for Hitchcock.
Psycho is just so good.
Psycho is good, and it's oddly not even in my top 3 because Saboteur is the other one. Saboteur, Vertigo, and Rear Window are my 3 that are kind of all just 1, 2, and 3.
It's pretty cool that what was the third one you said?
Saboteur, Vertigo.
Is that the one where they threw him off the Empire State or the Statue of Liberty?
Statue of Liberty, yep.
Dude, like just knowing the behind the scenes aspect of that.
Sure, how they shot
that. Yeah. Like, I mean, that right there gets points, period, anyway. So
for sure. All right, moving on to my buddy Kyle's list. It goes True Lies, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Empire Strikes Back, Army of Darkness, Super Troopers, Die Hard, Captain America, so I'm assuming the first Avenger, Pulp Fiction, Full Metal Jacket, Rambo First Blood, and then I will say his honorable mentions are Big Lebowski and Beverly Hills Cop, but they don't count.
Gotcha. You see a lot of repeats on that one.
Oh yeah,
a lot of other people. Die Hard.
True Lies has been mentioned. Empire's been mentioned. Super Troopers is Die Hard. Pulp Fiction's been mentioned. But it's nice to see Full Metal Jacket, First Blood, Army of Darkness, like some pretty good movies that I hadn't seen anywhere else.
True Lies is literally like what James Bond could have been with a little bit more fun and not so like when we talked about James Bond with Brandon Yoder in episode 7 of Shane Talks, like how they kept like they would go serious and then like decline and become a little bit funny and then keep going funny and then go back to serious. Like I feel like True Lies is one of those movies that hits it, that the tone of that movie is almost perfect.
Oh yeah.
100%. They do it and I think it was you who pointed out how silly it is, how like happy accidents in movies, they end up saving the day.
Yep.
When she drops the Uzi down the staircase.
And even though nobody's holding the trigger, somehow bullets keep coming out.
Oh, dude.
But only when it's not facing the stairs, like.
Oh, no, she gets shot at. She has to duck. She has to run and duck.
Oh, yeah, okay, all right, okay.
So it's not like it's, but yes, the possibility, the improbability of it only hitting bad guys the entire time it's firing. and saving everybody is saving her and her husband's life. Like it's pretty ridiculous, but
Sure.
you know, the suspension of disbelief. I remember being in the auditorium when that happened, and so many people like like laughing about it
Sure.
while it was happening in complete disbelief of like, oh wow, that's so cool. Like I'm so glad that worked out for her kind of moment. You didn't think about how ridiculous it was the first time you were watching it. But,
For sure.
I mean, come on, this dude almost wanted to ride the guy rides a motorcycle across an entire like Washington D.C. street. Like
Yeah.
that's not like through the air. It's not going to happen.
All right. Next up, Albert's brother Sergio threw out his in no particular order list: Jurassic Park, The Matrix, Super Troopers, Avengers: Infinity War, Nightmare on Elm Street, which I'm assuming he means the original, Robin Hood Men in Tights.
What is with that movie?
Ready Player One, Mulan, Scream is also on his list,
Woo-hoo.
and The Usual Suspects.
Mulan, first love for Mulan tonight.
Mm-hmm.
As far as in animated movies, it's not in my top 10. But like it's just beautiful all the way around.
Sure.
Like the animation's very cool and the artistic style that they took with it. I mean, that's the first time that, you know, we get the really funny Eddie Murphy doing a sidekick character that probably led to him being cast as Donkey in the Shrek movies.
Eddie, you're still talking about Men in Tights?
No. I'm talking about Mulan.
Oh, Mulan. I apologize. Sorry, my bad. I thought you were talking about Men in Tights. Apologize.
And then the music from Jerry Goldsmith in that movie is like top notch, dude. Like it might be the best score for a cartoon film ever, but like that movie is super solid. Robin Hood Men in Tights. What is with the love for this movie?
Sorry, that's why I still thought you were talking about that, and that's where I was going to. I thought you were getting Dave Chappelle and him mixed up, because Dave Chappelle is awesome, Carrie Elway is awesome, and everybody loves the fact that they make fun of Prince of Thieves in that movie. Now, granted, the last scene that has Jean-Luc Picard in it instead of Sean Connery is very well done. I think a Chew is a very. I mean, I love Dave Chappelle, so I love that character. Not sure I'd put it in a top 10 list. It's kind of it's an okay comedy. It's a Mel Brooks comedy, and it's okay when it's on.
Maybe I need to watch that one again. Maybe I'd find it funnier now that I'm an adult. I just remember thinking it was I don't know. There's certain Mel Brooks comedies where it's like comedy gold. I will watch it anytime it's on.
Sure.
And then it's like the rest of his list.
Well, I mean, it's like, a lot of like those National Lampoon's movies of the 90s where like Loaded Weapon 1 is just spoofing all the action movies. Like,
yeah.
This movie literally is just trying to poke fun at all the different versions of Robin Hood.
And so now I think that's on the decline for Mel Brooks for me. So
the thing on this list that upsets me is Ready Player One. And it's not that I really think the movie is bad, but it's because I have such a love, like a unparalleled love for the book, that I was so disappointed in that movie. Like,
I don't understand why you can't disassociate the two.
More than Jurassic Park, man. Like, I love Jurassic Park, and I let that movie be what it is, but I just can't do that with Ready Player One. Like,
what did you watch? Did you watch Jurassic Park and then see the movie?
No,
I read the book.
I read the book first. I did a book report on it in 7th grade, like months before the movie came out. Like, I was obsessed with the book Jurassic Park. And then I went and saw the movie, and I think it was because I was 13, and I was like, I'm just happy to see Jurassic Park on the screen. It's disappointing the Compy scene isn't in there. It's disappointing the waterfall scene isn't in there, but it's still Jurassic Park. Woo! I think
12-year-old, 13-year-old Shane watching Ready Player One in the movie theater, even after reading that book, would have the exact same reaction that you did to Jurassic Park.
It's possible.
That movie is a fantastic movie. It's a lot of fun. I haven't read the book yet. I do own it. I haven't read it yet.
You're never going to read it because I've built it up way too much that you're just I'm never.
I'm actually excited to read about all the things that they didn't put in the movie I'm
It's
excited
so
to read
good.
about that. I'm excited to read about all the spaceships that didn't make it in, and all like you told me some of the ones that are in there that actually get me excited to want to read the book. I don't find the time to read books because I don't make the time to read books yet.
He carries around
So
a lightsaber, and his normal mode of transportation is flying Serenity. Like, oh my
and
god,
that's awesome
it's
because
so good.
it's literally what Shane would want in this alternate world that
Exactly.
exists. But so I can't hate on him for saying Ready Player One, man. Like that movie's cool. Like I
Right.
wanted more out of it, and I'm kind of sick of the CGI orgies that keep
Sure.
happening at the end of movies for
Well,
big
and okay,
scenes.
so the other thing is when you
Oh,
get to the book and you start reading the book, like the actual steps and process to get the keys are absolutely nothing like they are in the movie. And they're it's not even that they were hard to have written that. Oh my god. Netflix should have made that a 10-hour series and I would have been happy. And we're gonna move on because nobody cares. My friend Brittany, this is John Petty's wife, Brittany. Her list goes My Best Friend's Wedding, The Little Mermaid, Moneyball, A League of Their Own is on another list, Fried Green Tomatoes is on another list, Steel Magnolias, Love Actually, Good Will Hunting, How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, and 10 Things I Hate About You.
bunch of
So,
chick flicks
yep,
in baseball movies.
yeah,
I
that's,
have nothing wrong with either one of them because I love so many chick flicks.
oh yeah.
It's kind of weird.
I mean, Love Actually is
But
on my top 10.
dude, Love Actually, 10 things I hate about you. I can't say anybody's wrong if they put that on their top 10 list at
Not at
all.
all. I watch that movie once a week at least, if not more.
You shouldn't admit to things like that.
Well, I mean, I pretty much watch that, and then I follow it up with Drive Me Crazy, and then depending on how late at night it is, I'll throw on Scream. Like I have movies that I just put on because I can watch them in the background,
Yeah.
and those are
Okay.
3 of them. So that is a great list. A lot of romantic comedies. I love the fact that Good Will Hunting is on there because
Dude, you know what's weird is like the How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days.
uh
Man, I so wish that Kate Hudson would do more physical comedy roles
okay.
because like her and Jessica Alba, like Employee of the Month is or not Employee of the Month. What was it? Good Luck Chuck. That was
Oh
the one.
yeah,
Such a bad movie. No, not even a question of bad movies.
yeah.
But like her Jessica Alba's physical comedy in that is so hilarious. Her reaction, her overreaction to things, the way she trips over things,
Mhm.
very like old school Mary Tyler Moore kind
Sure,
of, or like Carol Burnett kind of thing. Um, and Kate Hudson has her mom's comedic ability,
sure.
uh, and I just wish that we could see more of that. But I don't think that she was cast very often for that, and maybe she was purposely trying to stay away from that
Could be.
too often, kind of thing, to not get typecast. But I love. I think Kate Hudson is a beautiful lady, and I think she does slapstick comedy, kind of like Ben Affleck does, like just how when they're just doing these funny faces and being way over the top. I think it works so well in some of their films, and I wish she would do more of that.
For sure. All right, the next list, my friend Ryan Smith, who was on last week's episode talking 90s soundtracks with us, he put The Shawshank Redemption also. That's another one we've been seeing a lot. He also put Clue. This is a great one that we haven't seen yet, Seven. And Serial Mom. I'm not sure what The House of Yes is. Then he goes with Doctor Strange and Avengers Endgame, followed by Beetlejuice and Big Fish, and then The Shape of Water, which I unfortunately haven't seen, but I've heard a lot about it.
So I'm weird because I think the Avengers Infinity War is better as a movie than Endgame.
Okay.
But like I like the ending of Endgame a lot.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
The whole final battle sequence is really awesome. But everything else is just kind of blah for me. Whereas I feel like they hit it, and like I feel like Infinity War from beginning to end is like really top notch.
Well, and see, I still prefer the first Avengers over either of those, or Ultron by far. But
oh yeah.
The first Avengers as an Avengers film is just so perfect from start to finish.
Well, yeah, I mean, but it was doing what nobody had ever done at that point in time.
Sure.
Nobody had ever put that kind of star power all on one movie before. I feel bad for Marvel on a joking level of feeling bad for him, because it's like, where do you go from Endgame? Like, there's so many people in that movie.
Yep.
Like, I can't even imagine how, like, what are they giving shares wise? Like, off of the money is like, you get 1/3 of 0.5% for, yeah.
So you got black comedy with Serial Mom. You have dark with Seven. Like, I feel like it's a pretty well-rounded list. You got emotional with Big Fish. I've heard Shape of Water is pretty emotional. You got drama with Shawshank, hilarious Clue. Like, I feel like it's a pretty well-rounded list.
Yeah,
Serial Beetlejuice.
Oh, weird.
Which one? Oh, Serial Mom has so much fun. in a bizarre way, it's so much fun.
Yes.
All right, our friend Annette. Her top 10 goes Cruel Intentions, which is no surprise. Great Expectations, which I'm assuming is the 97 version with Ethan Hawke.
It wasn't as good as I was expecting it.
Great Expectations?
Sorry. Bad joke.
All right. It's a fine movie. Sweet Home Alabama, Gone in 60 Seconds, which is also not a surprise. How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days is on another list. Back to the Future is on another list. Anchorman, I'm surprised by that. Garden State, which only disappoints me because it's not Zach Braff's best movie. I would definitely put The Last Kiss over Garden State. And maybe it's just because I don't enjoy the friendship in Garden State at all. That's just me. Overboard, which we've seen on multiple lists, which I find interesting. And then The Blues Brothers, which is phenomenal. But and it's always been females that have Overboard on their list.
Oh yeah, I mean, again, it's Goldie Hawn. She's awesome, man.
Yeah, it's
just, she was fantastic back in the day. So very silly. Cruel Intentions. If you know Annette, that, like Shane said, there's no surprise there.
Nope.
I don't know if that would ever make my 10 list.
Really?
It's really fun.
I like that movie, but
I like that movie a lot. I just don't know if it would ever make it that far up my list.
It's a good movie. I love Ryan Felipe in that movie.
That's because you were trying to be him at the time it came out.
That's pathetically true. All right. Moving on to Mark Stratton's list. It's When Harry Met Sally, Wrath of Khan, Reservoir Dogs, The Hollywood Shuffle. What's up?
Reservoir Dogs for the first time tonight, right?
I think that is the first Reservoir Dogs, yeah.
But the other two have been mentioned.
Yep. Schindler's List, When Harry Met Sally, Wrath of Khan, then Reservoir Dogs, Hollywood Shuffle, Suspect, Alien, the first one, True Lies is on another list, Raiders of the Lost Ark, and Ghost Story. Which
what is Suspect?
Suspect, I want to say it was like 1986. It was like a drama, like a thriller drama. Are you looking it up? Because
1987. Cher, Dennis Quaid, Liam Neeson, John Mahoney, Joe Mantegna. Wow, this has got quite a list of people. IMDb says, when a homeless man is accused of murdering a Justice Department file clerk, a public defender is tasked with mounting his legal defense.
Okay. Like, I remember the box art for it from Blockbuster Video. I don't remember if I ever actually watched the movie, though, to be honest.
Wow. So, interesting.
But yeah, so a lot of repeats on here. Nothing too big of a surprise. I need to watch Ghost Story. I have not seen it yet. I've heard good things, and I like Casey Affleck, so I'm interested to see that movie.
I don't know that one.
Ghost Story is like literally Rooney Mara and Casey Affleck are the only two actors in the entire movie, and Casey Affleck spends the entire movie with a ghost sheet over his body with the eye holes cut out. And they just kind of have interactions throughout the entire movie.
Interesting.
It's I don't want to. I've had some things spoiled for me. I don't want to spoil it for anyone else, but it's supposed to be pretty interesting. So surprised to see it on a top 10 list, but that's cool. And our last list that we've got, the latecomer. I did not close the post fast enough, and he got in like 9 hours after I was supposed to lock the post. But it's my buddy. It's my buddy Will. It's my fault. I last night I did all the slides. I did everything for this. I tallied everything up, and then I woke up this morning and saw that he had finally put his list up. So I spent today redoing all my slides. But Will's list has Inception on it, which makes me happy. The Dark Knight. So we got 2 Nolan films to start his list. The Departed. Big Daddy. That's awesome that's on somebody's list. That makes me really happy.
That is.
Boondock Saints we've already heard. Lord of the Rings Return of the King. Lord of the Rings The Two Towers. So I'm going to pretend that he actually meant to say Fellowship of the Ring in place of those. I think he got confused with his lateness. But he put the second and third ones, which I don't like as much. Hot Tub Time Machine, which is awesome to see on somebody's list. Catch Me If You Can, and City Slickers.
Catch Me If You Can might be Leonardo DiCaprio's best work for me. Like he's so good in that movie.
He is very good.
I love the sequence when he's in the bathroom and he comes out and Tom Hanks is in his room.
Yeah.
He pretends to be a FBI agent or the police or whatever to get out of that situation. Like, dude, lots of fun on that list, man. Yeah. So
lots of action, lots of comedy. Again, Big Daddy makes me happy. Hot Tub Time Machine is obviously Will's got a sense of humor. So and City Slickers. I don't even know if we saw City Slickers on anyone else's list.
No, and that movie, I want to watch that again. I haven't seen that in years.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and it's one of those ones where you watch it and you go, they could never make this movie now. These jokes are way cancel culture would be all over that movie right now, which sucks. But yeah, I still think it's a hilarious film. All right, now let's go to your list and my list. We'll start with you, Jason's top 10. You have listed Star Wars, Serenity, The Greatest Showman, Casablanca, Serendipity, Scream, Die Hard, Tombstone, The Avengers, and The Aliens Director's Cut. That's a great list on there, man.
Thank you.
What went into some of your picks?
Well, if anybody ever asks me, period, what's your favorite movie of all time? I don't get very inventive with it. It's Star Wars: A New Hope.
Okay.
I absolutely love that movie from beginning to end. I've probably watched it the most out of any movie over the course of time. I like the origin. I like the origin aspect of it. Like I do with most trilogies or sagas, I tend to like the first one the most, typically. But just I don't know. Like it's the naivete of Luke's character and him trying to figure out where he fits in the universe, and then him thrust into that situation. And I just actually finished watching it again recently. I think earlier this week. It's definitely one of my. It's definitely my all-time top favorite film of all, for sure.
Nice.
So, besides that, looking at, what were you gonna say? Sorry.
What I was gonna say. The only thing that I have and not issue with, it's obviously your list. You can do whatever you want with it, but for me, I couldn't put Serenity in my top 10 simply for the fact, and I know that we've had discussions about this. I don't feel like Serenity plays without having Firefly behind it.
Yeah, but you had Firefly before it. So
for sure. But I'm saying you've talked to a lot of people who have only ever seen Serenity and still liked it. And I understand that. I feel like for me, it would be rough for me to say, here's 10 films that I think you have to go watch, and one of them be something that without having the 17 hours of Firefly behind it, it might not make sense to somebody. But
yeah, but you don't need to always know the backstory of everything, man. Like sometimes it's fine the way it plays out. I like the themes of Serenity a lot, as far as like the fact that they're trying to stand up to this over superpower with the alliance. I
Sure.
like the fact that the good guys win. It's not easy for them to pull it off, but they pull it off, and it's done in a heart wrenching way, in my opinion.
For sure.
But like it's that whole like, you know, here's this evil alliance who's basically or like the movie's version of big government and just shoving things down your throat whether you want it to or not. And this little ragtag group just decides enough's enough, and I'm screwing them up even if it costs me my life. And yeah, the way it resonates with me, I would imagine that a lot of people felt the same way when they were watching Red Dawn back in the day, the original, not the remake,
Right.
please. Um, yeah, so yeah, I don't think that Serenity is limited to just the people who've watched Firefly. I think it absolutely makes it a higher risks, and it has more emotionality to it if you do watch Firefly. But I don't think it's necessary personally. So
Right on.
my wife's never watched all of Firefly, but she's watched Serenity multiple times with me.
Right on.
So
Anything? Isn't Casablanca one that you've only watched within the last few years?
Casablanca, I didn't see until I was probably like 21, 22 for the
Oh,
first
okay.
time. But like that movie, I can't remember. You have seen it, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
It
That
was one of those
movie,
ones where you kept telling me that you hadn't seen it, and I was like, oh, like it's a classic, but I don't think it's. I never thought it was that amazing. I just thought it was, a good old movie. So it was one that I was surprised that I remember once you told me you watched it that you. Oh, am I thinking of the Maltese Falcon? Is that the one that you just recently watched?
actually, I've never seen it.
Crap, there was. It, I must have just not realized how long ago this Casablanca conversation happened. But I remember you finally telling me, "Oh, I finally watched Casablanca and I enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun." I didn't realize that had gone up to like a top 10 movie for you.
Yeah, I think it's because of how like timeless it felt the moment I popped it in. Like I
Right on.
popped it in, I'm watching it, and like the dialogue's just beautiful. Like and to think of where I mean, like the time frame that they filmed it, like not being um there's a lot of production value in it, and then like even the special effects for the time frame were just over the top for me, where
Mm.
it's one of those things as something as me and you being filmmakers in our past, like when I watched it I was like, oh crap, that's how they did that, and it worked for that time that they did it. It wouldn't work now if they did it
For
for a
sure.
special effect. But yeah, like dude, like it's so pretty to look at, and it's one of the few black and white movies where I say that. Like I'm sure there's others that I haven't even come across, but
Sure.
like I really felt like Casablanca just looks really pretty on screen.
Very nice. Anything else you got to say about any of your top 10 movies?
Dude, Serendipity. I know that that's not something that would be on almost anybody else's top 10 list. When I watched it, I had a thing for Kate Beckinsale.
Justifiably.
Uh, yeah. And John Cusack is somebody who I enjoy so many of his movies. Um, he's just very odd, and it works really well. And yeah, like that movie helped foster a love of New York City for me.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And to have gone to the restaurant Serendipity the multiple times that I have been there.
One of
Uh,
those times being with me.
yes, yep. Um, I was kind of sad. The first time I ever went was with my now wife, but we weren't even dating at the time. We were just friends, and we sat down at a table and we're eating and everything. And I'm sitting there for a while and I start looking around. She's like, "What's going on?" I was like, "I think this is the table." She was like, "What do you mean?" And I was like, "I think this is the table that they sit at.
Nice.
I'm pretty sure we're really like." She was like, "No, it's one table over." And I was like,
Oh.
"Dang it, man!" Like just had to go ruin my moment where like
So did I
the glass
crash?
had to break.
Did I crash your second date there? Or had you
Oh,
guys actually had a
I mean,
first
you
date
were
there?
with us. It wasn't a crash of the date. You were. It was planned for you to be there anyway. So,
Yeah.
um, I can't remember if I've been there 3 times or if it was
Gotcha.
only twice. But yeah, a lot of fun. It's a cute little restaurant. I highly recommend it. Their hot chocolate or their frozen hot chocolate's amazing. Um, Plan on going there if I ever get the chance to go back to New York City, or I think there's one in Las Vegas.
Are you going to
Maybe.
order the $500 dessert the next time you go?
Oh no, no,
No?
definitely not.
No?
Unless I have 50 of my closest friends.
No. Okay.
So,
All right.
and then we talked about Die Hard being a whole lot of people's favorite.
Oh, yeah.
Tombstone, Scream. I mean, Scream came out at the right time for me. Where like, in all honesty, it's not the best horror movie. I still think that Halloween's probably the best horror movie of all time for me. But as far as just like me personally, I think Scream is so much more fun and entertaining. It goes from being a slasher flick to being comedy and back and forth quite nicely. Um, and it definitely fit the like me as a person growing up, especially when it came out and me being in high school at the time and just and following, and it takes place in high school. Not that the other ones don't, but um, it's probably just the nostalgia factor for me.
I'll definitely,
So,
definitely agree with that.
the Avengers definitely, like we talked about, first big movie to ever
Yep.
do what it did, and there's 2 movies on this list that are both by Joss Whedon. No big surprise there for somebody who knows me.
Sure.
He doesn't always do the best work, but I thought like his ensemble for the Avengers worked so perfectly. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of that has to do with the ensemble work that he did do with Firefly and Buffy and Angel. And it like, he always built a really good universe that felt like real and lived in whenever you were in one of his television shows or watching his television shows. So, and then Aliens, the director's cut, I picked the director's cut because I think if you're ever going to watch the movie, you've never seen it, I would show you Aliens from hands down, no question. It's shorter, it's faster, and it punches really quick, and it's really cool. Aliens director's cut, if you like Aliens, then you go back and watch the director's cut because it adds a lot more layers to almost all aspects of that film. And like, there's some really cool stuff that they had to cut out to get in the theatrical release.
Sure, and I will say this about the director's cut. I'd say a year or two ago, I watched it with Brandon Yoder because he was watching all the director's cuts, and the director's cut still went by pretty quick for me, even with how long it is. Like,
it's one of those few movies that I think the director's cut might move faster than the original. Yeah. But I can see where when it slows down, it really slows down.
Yeah.
If you were just interested in Aliens and never seen it before, I would definitely just say watch the theatrical cut. And if you like it by any stretch, and if you would give it a 6 or higher on a 10 scale, then I would say definitely watch the director's cut because it's just got so much more meat on the bones. It's so much better. So.
All right. Well, so my list will be absolutely no surprise to you. Anybody who has made it this far and knows me remotely will not be surprised by any of the movies on this list. But my list starts with Inception, Back to the Future, St. Elmo's Fire, Chasing Amy, Scream, Love Actually, Field of Dreams, Jurassic Park, LA Confidential, and The Way, Way Back. Do you have any comments about any of my top 10 movies?
I never understand your love for St. Elmo's Fire. While I understand it's a Brat Pack movie, I personally love The Breakfast Club way more than that one.
Well, sure, but The Breakfast Club takes place in high school. They at least are old enough to drink in St. Elmo's Fire. And I appreciate the fact
you like St. Elmo's Fire before you could drink legally. Like, maybe that was
St. Elmo's Fire is about a group of friends and the things that cause them to not be friends and how they have to get over those things. I'm not in any way saying that The Breakfast Club is not a great movie, but as far as the Brat Pack movies go, I feel like there is a lot more character development and depth in the characters of St. Elmo's Fire than there is in the character like Breakfast Club is fun, and there's a great soundtrack, there's a lot of fun scenes. There's a lot to love about the Breakfast Club, but like as far as actually emotionally connecting with characters and feeling like you're actually getting a story and a plot of somebody's life, like St. Elmo's Fire has people that I find relatable who most of them make stupid decisions throughout the course of the movie and then have to deal with the repercussions of their stupid choices. But every time they're at their lowest, one of their friends finds a way to be there for them. And that's an important part of my life, is always knowing that I have friends that I can go to and fall back on when because we'll be honest right now, in my youth, I did a lot of really, really, really stupid shit, and I had to find people to support me and be like, yeah, Shane, you screwed up bad, but we're gonna help you through it. So like, I think the characters in St. Elmo's Fire have so much more depth than just the 5 characters in The Breakfast Club. And again, not saying I have anything against The Breakfast Club, I love it, but as far as the John Hughes movies go, like that's mine.
Love Actually, you know, my only complaint with that movie, and it becomes more and more apparent, maybe just because of the fact that I've noticed it, and it really annoys me.
The fact that he lands in Milwaukee and he orders a Budweiser, I know, that's the dumbest thing in any movie I have ever seen. You don't go to Milwaukee, the heart of Miller, and order a Budweiser. Like, whoever wrote that script, like Richard Curtis obviously did not do his homework. Like, I understand that that's very frustrating.
No, it's the porno doubles, man. Like,
what?
Their sequences make no sense to me whatsoever.
Here's why their sequences make sense. Those are 2 people who are on a porn set who have to be completely naked in front of each other and have no problems baring their physical skin to each other. But when they go on their first date, it's so awkward because they don't know how to emotionally open up to each other. They've already seen each other naked. They've already physically exposed themselves to each other. There is no mystery or secret as far as that goes. But their first date is so awkward because they don't know how to emotionally open up to each other.
Thank you, Dr. Shane.
That's the explanation of that character's story arc in the film.
No, but it doesn't make sense. If you watch at it, the chronological order of things makes no sense with that sequence. Everybody else is over the course of a week or 3 days.
No, the whole movie takes place over 5 weeks.
5 weeks.
Yeah,
okay.
It's a 5-week period that the movie takes place over. It starts the week before Thanksgiving, and then it goes until Christmas Eve.
Okay. So you've got all that time frame, and it literally feels like their entire sequence is supposed to happen in 1 or 2 days. Like, that's the way it feels to me every time I watch it, and it just doesn't feel. It feels very jerking. It feels like it takes me out of my enjoyment of that film, and I don't know why. And it might just be me overanalyzing that situation, but for some reason that just always sticks in my head, and every time I see it, it annoys the heck out of me. But overall, love the movie.
Oh, yeah.
Literally top 5 romantic comedy of all time for me. Easy. So Field of Dreams, we've talked about that so many times. We don't need to. Jurassic Park, same thing. The Way Back is literally one of those movies that I am so happy that you exposed me to.
Yeah, that movie's fantastic.
I think it was you and my brother Mike who both said that you should see this movie. And
the funny thing about that movie is there are so many people I have told to watch it, and then when I've followed up with them later, I'm like, hey, so did you watch The Way Back? And I've had at least 3 people tell me, I watched the first 20 minutes and I hated it, so I turned it off. And I went, oh my God, no, you have to, you have to keep watching it. And they're like, no, Steve Carell isn't funny in the movie. He's a jerk to the kid. Like, I don't like the kid at all. Like, I had to turn it off. I just didn't enjoy watching the movie. And I said to these people, go ahead.
I was going to say their aversion to that is pretty much my aversion to Bridesmaids. I couldn't get past the first 20 minutes of Bridesmaids because I thought that movie, there's not a single likable character. What's her face? Stink face woman. Who's the main lady?
Kristen Wiig.
Yeah, dude, I can't stand her as an actress. She is one of those people that, like, especially when she's like being like that whole first 20 minutes where she's just like, my life sucks. Like,
there's a reason why Bridesmaids is not on my top 10 list.
Oh, dude, like I was depressed watching that movie. Like,
sure.
Like Letha and I both agreed to watch that movie together, and then we both agreed to turn it off after 20 minutes. Nice. I was pumped to watch that movie, man. That movie was so bad. But yeah.
But yes, the way back, once you get to Sam Rockwell's character and you get to the water park part of the movie, like, there is no way anybody cannot, like
there's no going back.
There is, like the first 20 minutes
so
are to show you how terrible this kid's life is, how shitty of a stepdad, like, it's not even his stepdad, his mom's boyfriend, how terrible he is to him, and then the love and acceptance that he finds while working at the water park. Like,
this is a great coming of age story.
It is an amazing coming of age story. Like, him going from the quiet, shy, like, abused kid that he is to becoming Pop and Lock, the employee of the month, like, is a great character, like, story. So I love that. And I love LA Confidential. It was one that when I wrote my top 15 movies out, I couldn't justify taking it off my list because I think it's beautiful. It's old Hollywood. It's the 50s. It's 3 different cops who are trying to accomplish the same thing in 3 different ways. I feel like it's got a good twist at the end. Not everybody survives. I really enjoy that. And then, like I said earlier in the show, Chasing Amy is on here because it is my favorite Kevin Smith movie. It's my favorite love story. And then Inception, it is the best Kevin Smith movie. And Inception, I literally think is a perfect film. Every time I turn it on, I cannot turn it off until it's over. And it's because I literally think it's perfect in all 4 depths of dreaming that it goes.
I just read an article about that the other day that it was Michael Caine talking about his character in it. And
nice.
So it was especially the ending, and I was like, ooh.
Which is funny that that's ever been a debate with people. I understand that it's supposed to be a debate, but what Michael Caine said is what I have always assumed was the truth to the ending. So I was happy. Yeah.
I agree with, or let me rephrase that. I thought what he said.
Yep.
And then he confirmed what I thought. And it's one of those moments where, like, you can definitely see why it's debatable.
Oh, for sure.
Like,
yeah.
And it's probably, I mean, he left it that way on purpose.
Of
and
course.
He probably left it that way on purpose so that everybody will
come to their own conclusion.
Yeah, come to their own conclusion and see if that's something that they like or not. Yeah. So
definitely agree. Well, we've talked about my list enough. Let's go to our final tallies here. And we'll just run through them really quick since we've been talking about all these movies for an hour now. We had a 7-way tie for 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, and I had to extend it to 11th place because all 7 of these movies got 4 votes apiece. They were on 4 different people's lists. That is The Avengers, Back to the Future, The Blues Brothers, Die Hard, The Matrix, Scream, and Star Wars: A New Hope. Kind of disappointed that Back to the Future and Scream only got 4 total votes, but, it is what it is. Moving on to numbers 2, 3, and 4, we had a 3-way tie for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th place. All of these movies got 6 votes each. Those are The Dark Knight, Pulp Fiction, and The Shawshank Redemption. All movies that I feel are fine where they are at in 2 through 4. And then our grand total winner, who showed up on 7 lists out of 28. So 25% of the people who replied, 25% of the people who answered what is your top 10 movies. They picked Goodfellas to be our number one all-time winner of this poll or questionnaire or whatever it is. So, what's up? Any last thoughts before we wrap this up?
I understand. I like Goodfellas. It's a good movie.
It's a good movie.
I would never ever think about putting it as my number one movie of all time. Never even, not even in my top 10, obviously. But it's just, I don't know. It maybe it's everybody's lore of like Scorsese or what, man. Like it's just like everybody loves them some Scorsese, and it's.
Well, and
I personally think that The Departed is better than Goodfellas, like out of his movies.
I feel like because a lot of us that answer this are around the same age. I feel like most people.
This was 87, right?
Sounds right. I think you're right about that. Mid to late 80s. But we didn't live through The Godfather. So, like, I feel like Goodfellas was more of, like, our generation's Godfather.
90.
Oh, 90, okay.
Wow.
So, yeah. So, I feel like that one was more time appropriate for a lot of us, that it's in the vein of The Godfather, but it's more modern, like, more actors that we know. I mean, obviously, a lot of us know a lot of the Godfather actors and whatnot. But I mean, this was De Niro at his height, Joe Pesci at his height. Ray Liotta was, doing a bunch of movies in the early 90s, so
didn't do much afterwards.
No, he didn't. But he was in No Escape.
I don't know what it I don't know. Like I feel like Goodfellas, and even watching what was The Irishman?
Okay.
Like it's like The Irishman, Goodfellas, and Casino are all kind of shot the exact same way and have the very same feel to me.
Sure.
So it's just like, I don't know. After so many hours of it, it's just kind of like, oh, okay. Like Scorsese again. Whereas I feel like he has different tones with his different movies most of the time. So the three of those feel very similar. Whereas like I feel like The Departed feels different. Hugo is obviously different as far as feel goes. But I'm not a huge Scorsese fan compared to some people I know. So
yep. So awesome. That was a great episode 10. We talked about 28 different lists, talked about a lot of great movies. Our next episode is going to be with Jason and I's friend Evan. Evan is coming back to talk about, I'm calling it the Scream effect. We're going to look at the movies that came after Scream. So basically like horror slasher type flicks, post 1996, kind of trying to see what Scream influenced on those. All the WB actors that ended up on various horror slasher films.
All the Kevin Williamson movies.
All the Kevin Williamson movies that he wrote, like trying to redo Scream. So we're going to kind of take a look at those. Evan's a big horror fan, so we're going to kind of open it up to him to talk a lot about his love of some of these movies. This whole idea came out of Evan and I talking about how we both love Urban Legend a lot, so we'll probably have some good Urban Legend talk because it's a fantastic film. And then also next week we Jason and I are going to be doing a recording with a lot of the original members of our group that made our first horror film with us, which was called Consternate. Started in 99. We did all of our filming 20 years ago in 2000. This fall, we're hoping to do a 20th anniversary screening of the movie if movie theaters are open and if we can pull it off at this point. It's a big maybe, but we're gonna get us and 7 other people who worked on the movie, some actors, some behind the scenes people, some of our friends that helped make it happen, and we're just gonna talk for an hour or two about how it's been 20 years since we all made that first movie together. And then some other potential episodes are being talked about. We might do an entire Ben Affleck episode because I have a unhealthy love for Ben Affleck, and he's from Boston, so you do too. We've also talked about doing a Golden Raspberries episode. I wish time-wise it was closer to when the Golden Raspberries were actually going to be handed out, because I would love to do an episode that's like time coherent with that. But that's an idea that we've been throwing around. Or in the same vein, trying to get people on who have a guilty pleasure movie, a movie that they know is absolutely terrible, but that they just can't not love. Or that might be one that I open up to the Chain Talks group on Facebook also, and get a bunch of people's answers, and then we can just discuss their answers.
Joe Dirt, baby.
Joe Dirt.
So bad.
Do you mean Joe Dirt? Joe Dirt?
I just watched it. I watched it again like 2-3 days ago, man. I'm your sister. I'm your sister. Like, Dennis Miller's great in that movie. Like it's so not great. But that and you got Grandma's Boy.
That's a great movie. That can't be any. There's nothing wrong with that movie.
That's my boy.
I think what we should do is when we open this up, it has to have a less than 9% rating on Rotten Tomatoes for us for it to be allowed to be in the conversation.
Understood.
Yeah,
I'm willing to do my research and homework on that.
So we'll look into that. So all right, thank you guys for listening. Thanks for being a part of this. 28 of you were awesome enough to give me your top 10 list so that we could talk about it. I really appreciate that. It was a blast. And yeah, so we got a couple of things coming in the works, and thank you for listening.